fashion is all about people. It's about the relationships that people have. It's just mediated through the creation of artefacts and pieces. And that's what makes it so important. It's one of the only industries of its size that still everything pretty much is made by hand. It's pairs of hands that touch everything that we wear, and that's an incredible and wonderful thing when it's done well, but an incredibly bad thing for us to be able to sort of stand up and wear something when we know that it's caused harm to somebody else.
I'm John Paul Flintoff. I'm a journalist, occasional clothes maker and an activist. I'm making this film, along with a lot of other people, to try to explain the reason why we started Fashion Revolution Day last April in response to the deaths and injuries of hundreds and thousands of garment workers in Bangladesh.
Well, I think like everyone, you couldn't miss it. The disaster at Rana Plaza, the factory complex in Bangladesh, made news headlines around the world. And actually 2,200 people had died in Bangladesh in 300 separate incidents in the 13 years leading up to that. But because they were smaller incidents, they'd been unreported. It wasn't until I had a bath on the Sunday after the Rana Plaza disaster, and just after a couple of minutes in the bath, this idea of Fashion Revolution Day popped into my head. I wasn't even thinking about it, and it just seemed too good of an idea to ignore, and I could so easily have sat there in the warm bath and thought that was a good idea and done nothing about it. But I realised it was a good enough idea to act on, so I jumped out of the bath and emailed the most obvious person I could think of, really, who was Ursula de Castro.
We're asking people to engage in a process of discovery, somehow to follow a new journey, discovering who made their clothes, what are their clothes made out of, where does this material originate, and the people that sew them. So a journey backwards, really, to the history of what they're wearing.
You told me once a lovely story about your grandmother. Can you tell me that story?
My grandmother used to say that the height of luxury was a drop of blood on the hemline or on the lace, because that meant that it was a human person that had done it. And she wondered, how did she get distracted, that person? How did the drop of blood came about? And I believe that this is really metaphorically what Fashion Revolution Day is looking for. You know, the human connection to the fabrics of the clothes we wear.
Actually, I don't know who made this jumper because I got it at a charity shop and there's no label. That question, who made your clothes, is quite a personal question. And I think what makes people feel uncomfortable is that they don't know that answer. You know, and I consider myself a really well-informed person about the issues, and you know, even a lot of the things I wear, I don't know where they came from, and there's no real way to find out. So I think that fear of not knowing is really uncomfortable for some people, but also a very important conversation to be had.
Well, I buy a lot of second-hand stuff, so most of this is from Deptford Market.
Do you mean?
Yeah.
You mean the one? Actually, this one is made in England.
One item of clothing I'm wearing at the moment is was bought in Norfolk.
My jumper is made in heaven, apparently. It's a brand called Made in Heaven, and it's got the number on the back of how many. It's like a piece of art. It's number 51, I think, out of 150 pieces that are made.
So we can start with the socks. So my socks, these are hand knitted by myself, and the heels and the toes were knitted with a different wool that's really sturdy, and I even spun that wool myself.
Wow, brilliant.
And the trousers I make myself, and the jumper I make myself.
So a lot of things in answer to
and
question.
my boxer shorts.
So some of us know all about where our clothes come from, but it's not easy for everyone, because even manufacturers don't have all of the information.
There's been numerous surveys of shoppers which show that they're actually willing to pay even a little bit more for a product or to buy from a company which sources ethically. But if the brands aren't able to tell us...
My feeling was that if fashion could get behind it, and if it could be seen to be creative, exciting, something that was important, something that was cool, then perhaps the wider population and wider consumers would begin to address it. My my sense also is that as consumers, people needed to understand far more the implications of our actions, and that once people did have an understanding, we've seen all sorts of campaigns, for example, around plastic bags or so on and so forth. Actually, people get behind that, and it's how do we stimulate and really get people feeling about it and excited about it, and then perhaps we could change it. And I feel fashion is the ideal industry, subject, creativity, personal response to it all.
But how are consumers supposed to make a response if the information that we need isn't even available? Or is it?
I teach a third year module in the geography degree here called Geography as a Material Culture. And that module is about stuff, where it comes from, who makes it, and our relationships with countless other people all around the world, locally and thousands of miles away and very locally, who just make our stuff. And so the course is just trying to encourage students just to think about those relationships. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You want to play top trumps?
I play it all the time. I have a child.
Ah, what's your favourite pack?
Well, I don't think we've got brilliant, but the Olympic sports is quite good.
Right, I've got my Howie's hoodie, for example.
Can you hold it right up to the camera?
That's it there. Look at that, an A- overall, A for policies, A for transparency, A for monitoring, C+ for workers' rights.
So, well done, Howie's.
This is the Usain Bolt of my pack. Now, I want to show you the Nordic rowing one of my pack, which is my Quicksilver T-shirt, which I'm actually wearing at the moment. D+ overall, D+ for policies, A for transparency, C for monitoring, and F for workers' rights. Can you see that?
That's it, got it now. And
so now this will always trump that.
Do garment workers think about people who wear their clothes? No. No. Not at all. And we have done some experiments in small productions, showing people pictures of people wearing their clothes that they've produced. Shown people, like pictures of our smaller projects, like, oh, you made this weaving, and then you sewed this bag, and look, this is like somebody riding a horse in California wearing this, and they are like totally blown away, completely. And it's really, really, really interesting because they are able to understand why quality is important and what we're talking about. If you print them out physically and hand them to them, they will put them in their houses and they'll show them to their kids and their cousins, their grandmas, and they'll become way, way, way more connected.
So, if you could give a message to the people who made the clothes you're wearing now, what would that message be?
It would be that I think it's very nicely made and it's very comfortable, and I'm very grateful for all the work and effort that they put into it.
Do you ever hear from them?
People who wear my clothes. I do sometimes see people walking down the street wearing my clothes. I do hear from them, and it's a great feeling when you see somebody. In fact, sometimes it reminds me that I wish I'd kept hold of some of the pieces myself.
What we hope people will do on the 24th of April is that they will turn their clothes inside out, take a picture of it on your iPhone or your computer, and put it on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter with the hashtag Insideout, and then ask companies, if H&M made your shirt or Zara made your shirt or whoever made your shirt, send them a tweet, send them a message on Facebook and ask them who made this garment. See what they say.
And then we want hundreds of thousands of people to make that gesture, because this in turn is going to raise awareness within the fashion industry that people do want to see change. And we believe that greater transparency is a prerequisite to improving standards within the industry. So we want to know who made your clothes.
Have you any idea what you might wear on Fashion Revolution Day?
I've got no idea. Actually, I'm going to be in Shanghai, so I was thinking about. I'll still be wearing something. So I'm just got no idea because I haven't really stopped to think about what the weather is like, and I'm not too sure I have to have some sort of formal signing. But the point would be that yes, I would do something definitely.